And welcome, our fellow lovers of love. Thank you for joining us on yet another excursion down the stream of consciousness towards the lake of love.
Yay!
Yeah, we're keeping it short. It is a year since we started the show.
Yay!
I know
A
this
whole year. It's gone pretty fast.
I know this for a fact because I forgot to renew the domain and had to kind of scramble this afternoon to get the domain. It expired like a couple days ago. So it's actually been a year since we've done the show. It's been an official year. And it's been quite a journey. It's been a heck of a journey for everybody in the last year. So, adding this whole thing onto it's been kind of a, it's, I don't know.
It's been a journey. It's taken many different forms. We've morphed. We've grown. I like to think.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words. Check that one out. That's a new one.
That's a new one.
So, maybe we'll end something on the show. We'll do something at the end of the show. We'll get a few words at it. So, but let's go ahead and we'll get this thing started. It's the end of Mental Health Awareness Month. If I've got everything, my months. I'm not a fan of months and days, and holidays and special days, because I think sometimes it allows us to be lazy the rest of the year. I care during that month, or I cared during a few days during that month, so therefore I can kind of ignore it until next year. When things like mental illness, or what we should really think about more is emotional health to prevent mental illness. But how do you have that discussion? That's a difficult thing to do. So as we end, Mental Health Awareness Month, it's a difficult discussion because it's difficult. When we talk about mental health, we all kind of think about the more extremes cases, but the reality is 19% of us have an anxiety disorder. And, those anxiety disorders run from severe to relatively mild, but yet they still exist. And we don't think about the functional, emotionally ill. And we don't want to just dissect the conversation because it'll allow us to ignore an even smaller group of people, an even smaller and more vulnerable group of people. I understand why we have mental illness and we don't chop it down farther. I get it. But we have to figure out some way to have a more sophisticated conversation. Because there's people who are hurting, and we could help them. We could prevent them from getting into mental illness if we could help them while it's still an emotional issue.
Yes.
Because it's those unresolved emotional issues that will over time turn into the severe mental health issues. For a lot of people, there's some of us who are born with an anxiety disorder or whatever, and you just have to learn to cope. But, there's a lot of cases that are created. And it's trying to figure out how to not do that, or how to interject in a way that is not intrusive, but can put them on the path to actual recovery. Because you can recover from an emotional health issue, but you can't recover from a mental health issue. That's going to be with you forever, regardless of how well you learn to cope, how well you learn to adjust, how well you learn to adapt. You can become a hyper-functional human being, but that mental illness will always be with you. It will always be a part of you. You never actually recover. You become more resilient. You become better. You understand how to work within yourself, all these various things. But you never recover. It never goes away completely. It's always going to be part of who you are, even if just its shadows. It's a brick in your foundation. You can't take it away. It's always going to be there. So anyway, that's the difficult thing. And it's a hard conversation because We try to have it here every week. We try to have, these real human conversations in a compassionate, understanding, but blunt as well, because you can't sugarcoat these things. I think that's part of another problem is we don't want to be blunt. We don't want to hurt people's feelings. And we get it. Who wants to hurt somebody who's hurting feelings? Nobody does. But if you're not forthright, then you're going to get misunderstandings. People aren't going to understand. And it's just so hard. And we all want an easy answer. We want a silver bullet.
There is no magic pill.
Doesn't exist. Even the magic pill requires that you do the mental work. Even the magic pill isn't magic. The best medicine you can have, the medicine you can't live without, right? It doesn't work without you doing the mental work yourself. If you just took your medication, it's not going to do it by itself, is it?
No, my medication is just one tool in the toolbox. I still have to make the effort, yes. And
I don't use much medication to treat my anxiety. Well, much medication. I don't use pharmaceuticals to treat my anxiety. But it's not. We use marijuana as medication on that level. But I don't use pharmaceuticals. But I still have to do the internal work. I still have to understand myself, and I still have to realize that I'm never quite got as good a hold of it as you think you do. You think you're good at getting a hold on it, but you're not quite as good as you think you do, while at the same time you're better than you think you are. It's a strange beast. It is. It's a strange beast, and that's why they call it a disorder. If it made sense, it would just be. So, as we kind of wrap up this end of Mental Illness Awareness Month, don't let it be a month. Every day is Emotional Awareness Day. For yourself, for those you care about, for those around you. And we all do that. We all do the little bit every day. In a few years, we'll be someplace beautiful. And that's what love is about. So, anyway, me and Lubby, we're going to put our argument off till the second half of the show.
There's not going to be any argument. We're going to have an intellectual, very calm discussion.
Over your crying...
Very logical.
Yeah, over your crying TV shows. I somehow doubt that one. And you can send us a voice message at Anchor FM /Late Night Love. You can find us on all your various social media things by going to searching for Late Night Love. The easiest way to find us is probably just to go to latenightLove.us, and I think I've got all our social links and everything linked onto there. If not, I'll have it done this week. And that's about it for business this half. All right, Lubby. So, which one we got to start with? Want to start with the self-care?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got an self-care. What is self-care? And that's actually an interesting thing, because is self-care kind of, a lot of people, I don't even want to say a lot of people, because we don't actually have a discussion about what self-care is. So how can we say what a lot of people do or view it? Self-care is not necessarily taking an expensive vacation. It can be, if you have the means, but it's not necessarily. Self-care is about making sure you do what you need to do to not go down the paths that make your mental health worse. Doing the small things And on occasion, if you need to, the big things, to take care of yourself for the long term. Like earlier this year, but a couple months ago, I pulled the plug. We were kind of cruising along, and I needed to take a break from my mental health. And I didn't ask anybody. I didn't ask permission. I didn't need to. It was I needed my mental health. I knew those who loved me would support me on that. And so, that's self-care. And if I'd needed to go run off and spend a time in the woods naked howling at the moon, then that's what I would have needed to do.
Huzzah. I'd go howl at the moon with you.
Or you
want me to come along.
That's self-care. Sometimes go buying a new pair of shoes is self-care. It is. If you can actually afford it and you're not hurting yourself long-term, causing more damage long-term. So, because it's not actually the shoes. Unless your feet hurt. But sometimes it's just the experience of spending an hour and a half just thinking of yourself. Because a lot of times we get into the habit of putting other people first. We're parents. We have other lives. We have people we love. We have people we care about. You get into the habit of, just getting through the day, and next thing you know, it's been 2 weeks before you've done a damn thing for yourself. Not on purpose, just it happened. It's been a crazy 2 weeks between getting your kids to school and your husband's off it, or your partner's off it, got his own school, or he's off on a business trip, and whatever all the life things is, those things of life, and you didn't take an hour and a half during the last 2 weeks for yourself. And so going off, spending an hour and a half at a shoe store because you love looking at shoes and you buy shoes, that can be self-care. Or it can be selfish. It really depends upon why you're doing it.
Well, that's one of the things that this article mentioned. Self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary.
Yeah, and it can be anything. It can manifest itself in many, many ways. A lot of them small. And oddly enough, it's one of those things. If you do the small things, hello, McFly, you can avoid the big ones.
Mine is 5 minutes of meditation every day. And I feel guilty sometimes when we're off to do something, and I'm like, hey, do I have 5 minutes to meditate? But it really sets my day, and I can tell the difference.
Yeah, you're well, in that particular case, you're literally at the beginning of the day taking time to set the direction your brain is going to think.
That's exactly what I do.
I mean, that's a conscious effort to make, to tell you to, at least try to get your day off on the right direction. Yeah, that's self-care. And unless there is some absolute reason we can't, of course, you can take the 5-10 minutes.
Of course, you always have.
Yeah, I think there's been like once.
But I still have that pang in me, that, it's selfish. I'm making people wait, Yeah.
But well, some of us plan for that, so.
Do you really?
How do you think we're still at places on time? We're rarely late to anywhere, are we?
We're rarely late.
And it's not because of you. Now, don't get me wrong. You are actually very good. You understand that I have a thing about being late, and it causes anxiety.
It does.
And so you manage the thing, but I actually give you more time than is actually
Well, I need more time than what you.
So we balance each other. We in a healthy relationship, you each kind of give and compromise. You accept the other person's pluses and I don't even want to say faults, quirks, and you deal with them. God, good Lord, man! If I can't adjust my internal clock for 7.5 minutes every half hour on how long it's going to take you to get ready, then I can do it. It's about what it is. It's about 15 minutes every hour is what I make it. Just what I think it should take an hour, it's actually going to take an hour and 15 minutes. It's what I do in my head. It's kind of like a calculation. It works right about right. Yeah. All these things happen like that too. It's
Well, we've been together a while. You've kind of got it down.
yeah, well, it's just taking that literal second to think about it. It only takes a second. And just because now it's habitualized now doesn't mean, now I lose the habit when I'm not feeling well. So the last few weeks have been rough on my poor Lubby. But
Well, you don't feel well, so your patience wears thin.
yeah. Well, it's the brain not work as fast. It's not working as fast. And so those things that I normally routinely have a chance to think about in those handfuls of seconds, I don't have it. And there's a lot to go through, man, because me, I'm always looking for the joke as well. And there's a lot that goes through my mind. You'd be surprised how much actually runs through my head in the time it takes to because there's a serious response, there's the kind of kick the can down the road response, and then there's there a joke in there thought, and then is any of that too stupid to actually say, and because you got to run it through the filter, and all that happens in the blink of an eye.
You got a busy little head up there.
Yes, I do. Well, I could lighten the load by knocking out the humor part, but I don't think any of us want that.
Well, you wouldn't be you.
I don't think any of us actually want that.
At 3 a.m, I do.
Yeah, but that's the only one that works kind of on autopilot. So I also say really stupid things at 3 a.m. So it's not exactly functional. So self-care is whatever it is you need to do, however it manifests itself to you. I can speak. So if it's writing a journal, if it's doing meditation, if it's I do so many different things. I watch lectures. When I really need to do some self-care, I'll pick a subject and I'll go and watch lectures. I took 3 years of psychology on classes online last summer while I was running for office somehow. I just realized that, it's 3 full years. 3 full semesters, not years. Sorry, 3 full semesters of psychology. Psychology 1 was it 1A, and 1B and 2A, something like that. Anyway, I forget how they had it dissolved up. But yeah, it was the first semester, second semester, and then the third semester. I didn't get to the fourth. It started to get boring. I in it for the basics. The details. I don't want to start studying any individuals. I want to keep it generic. And they started, so are you going to be a Freudian? Are you going to, which kind of direction are you going to? I want to choose. I want to stay open-minded. Anyway, so we've got next on our list is 7 things you need to know about being an introvert with social anxiety. Okay, I can tell you about this one. I can tell you. So on this one, it's just a simple article about, this person's things about issues with social anxiety. When meeting new people, my social anxiety is on full takeover mode. Yes. Anxiety, of course, mine's on full takeover mode anyway, but you're looking for every single clue that person is not a predator, not a danger, which is a really awful way to meet new people. It's terrible. It's a terrible mindset to have when you're meeting new people.
Oh, that's sad.
I mean, you can kind of fight against, I hate those words, but you can kind of, know that you're having that initial reaction and you can kind of try to ignore it, but how can you?
It's still there.
Yeah. How can you completely ignore it? It's not really possible. You can try. You can compensate for it as best you can. But yeah, everybody you meet, it's essentially it's fight or flight mode thing. You haven't tried to decide, do I have to fight or do I have to run from this person? Well, that's stupid. That's an awful way to go through life. And so, but it is. And so, you're trying to pick up whatever body clues, verbal clues. That's why walking around with people's half their freaking face covered is a nightmare. It's a nightmare because you're missing essentially 2/3 of your input, or your facial signals input. Is that a smirk or a smile? You can't even tell because their sound is muffled. Anyway, so it's been rough for those of us with social anxieties. For those of us with anxiety disorder, it's been a rough year. That's why you're starting to see society have issues. You're starting to see society break down. That their nerves are frayed, quite literally. I actually enjoy talking, just not for too long. Yeah, there comes a point where the input becomes too much because you're picking up more than just the conversation. Sitting here having a conversation with 2 or 3 people, I can do all day. But if you're in like a restaurant or you're someplace or like a park even where there's other input noise, your body is still trying to interpret all that other noise. And so it's very difficult to balance that out. And so you actually, have to get, that's why when people like me, when you come home from someplace like that, you go someplace quiet. You sit someplace quiet. It's just to let your nerves calm back down. So, and she was talking about the INFJ personality type. And I don't know, I keep forgetting which one of those I am. I think every time I take it, I get one of those different. So I never remember one of those. I'm like borderline. I don't know which one it is. No, I won't meet you in a crowded restaurant for lunch. Yeah, it's the crowded thing. They're noisy and they're loud with a lot of different input, and it's very difficult to concentrate on the conversation. So if you want to meet somebody who has anxiety for lunch, a park, someplace quiet. If you really want to do someplace, you do them someplace quiet. Or someplace that you can at least isolate yourself at. Maybe a bowling alley or something. The driving range where I don't know. Someplace where you can kind of not be in something with a loud atmosphere.
Right.
It's because it's the loud atmosphere. And eating is always, if you haven't, I don't know how much that's just me. Because even before I had issues with eating, but I don't know how much that was me specific. But how many of those, if you're a picky eater, and eating out is an anxiety-inducing event. All these other people who like to eat all this wide variety of food, and all you really want is a grilled cheese sandwich. Because they ain't got nothing else you can eat. And so you're the one who's ordering toddler food. I'm just saying, do you truly enjoy being quiet and doing quiet activities? Yeah, just sitting quietly. I can actually literally just sit in a quiet room without doing anything. Not thinking, not contemplating, just not even necessarily meditating, because meditating is actually doing something. Just sit quietly.
And do nothing?
I'm sitting quietly. I'm doing something by doing nothing. I'm engaged in self-care. And I am not lying. When I unplugged earlier, I spent days sitting here literally doing nothing. Stuff was on, but nothing was on. I wasn't watching videos, didn't even watch lectures. All the screens were on. I'd sit down like I was going to sit down and watch a lecture, but I never turned anything on. I just sit there quietly. Just because I'm tired of the input. I needed no input is what I actually needed. And the same thing. It's like, going to we used to go to the driving range. I should probably start doing that again. It's good for my back, and you kind of, if you go at the right time, you can be there by yourself essentially, or you can be off in the corner by yourself. You can spend some time with somebody by yourself. I should take up golf again, to be honest. I hate keeping score, and everybody else says, "So I just scored." I don't know. I didn't keep score. I'm just hitting a ball around the yard. I'm just hitting a ball. I don't care. I'm just trying to hit the hardest shot I can. It's funny because why are you trying to you should just lay up. It's like, no, because it's more fun to try and make the harder shot. And since I'm not keeping score, I'm just here to have fun. And golfers, they're strange. They don't seem to like that. They take that stuff too seriously. It's like, what are you, Tiger Woods? What the hell? But you got to improve your game. No, I'm old with bad knees. I'm never going to be a good golfer. I'm just trying to go out and have some fun. Okay, so at this time I was young with bad knees, but still, I was never trying to go out and, I'm just trying to have some fun. Now, I'll respect their culture within some boundaries, but just, look, I'm not railing on you guys because you're wasting your time sitting there worrying whether you got one stroke more or less on the same course than you did last week, which is all entirely random based upon whether, some green was hard or soft that day. Stop it. Stop it. No, it gives you, they're having fun. They're having a good time. Knock yourselves out. I'm trying to have fun and have a good time. Leave me alone. So, anyway. So, yeah, like to be off by yourself. Small talk was made by the devil. Ain't that
That's the truth.
They won't do it.
I can do it. I can do small talk, but it takes a lot out of me.
Well, I can do it. Well, the problem with small talk is it's not actually small talk. It's small talk in the modern times. Because you never know how sensitive the person in front of you is. And so you're actually always on eggshells, even if you don't have to be. I have an anxiety disorder. I have a child with special needs. So I got all these various issues. And yet, make fun of me. What do I always say? You can say whatever you want about me as long as it's funny. Come on, I don't care. It is just so hard to have a real conversation today because everybody's worried about saying the wrong thing.
No.
But if you're so worried about saying the wrong thing, guess what? You're not saying anything. There's got to be margins for error. Otherwise, the whole world's going to be walking around like we have an anxiety disorder. I don't want that. It sucks. I've been there, done that. Don't want it for my culture. Thank you very much. It's bad enough I have to live with that. Books will always be my friend first. I think that's one of those things, whatever your escape is, will be your friend. Be it a book, be it a TV, be it a video game, wherever it is you escape to kind of put the world in the back end, whatever can shut your mind off from the real world for a little while. That's the trick, is be able to shut your mind off from the real world for a little while. And books can do that for some people. I don't see the picture, so I don't get it. But I understand what it's doing. I understand what they're doing. I get why people find them. So I'm not. I just have to find my own way. But it's just the same process manifests itself differently. More prone to sadness. Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's not even necessarily sadness. I wouldn't necessarily call it sadness. I'm more prone to emotional heartstrings. I can't watch those videos, those fundraising videos for St. Jude's or those hospital things on YouTube. Man, I'll start crying my eyes, bawling my eyes out. I'll cry at everything. I cry at that music video the Maroon 5 music video thing because you see all these people being happy. There's genuine happy moments mixed into there, and you can see it. Well, tear up then. I don't mind admitting it, but it's annoying. You don't want, whatever. I'm man enough to cry, but I'm just saying it's really annoying when you're crying at a music video you've seen a fucking 100 times. That's all I'm saying.
I get doom brain. Something happens and I go to the worst possible scenario, and that causes anxiety.
All right, it is halftime. The Lubby needs a break, so we are going to go earn a few cents, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, we are back for the second half of our show. Again, let's remind you, if you would like to send Lubby a Dear Lubby letter,
Yes,
ask her a
please.
question, you can send it to love@latenightlove.us. You can find me at JazzRack on Twitter, or you can find us on our Facebook page and other social media, even though we're sometimes not very good about that. But hopefully that's just been that I've been under the weather and not that we've kind of just are actually that bad at it. I think it's just we're combating a couple issues here. I'm stuck now. All right. So, what do we have for the second half of the show, Lubby?
Well, we were going to discuss how when we smoke a joint, we watch little things on TV. And I usually am the one who is in control because I got my mouse at my desk. I'm the one in control. And I'm very, very mindful that I take turns with our video viewing preferences.
Uh-huh.
I like Family Feud. I like doing the little games while we're sitting there toking up. And you like Top Gear, you like Red Green, you like Epic NPC Man.
No, you understand. I had to argue to get Epic NPC Man included in my rotation. I don't get to decide it's not like I get to go in there and decide what I want to watch when it's my turn to decide what I want to watch.
No, I pick from a list of your preferences.
No, from your approved list of my preferences.
Well, yeah. Did I not say I was in control of the mouse?
So I don't actually get to choose what I want to watch when it's my turn to choose what we want to watch. Now, I do want to grant you some credit. Because when it's your turn to watch, you don't do you don't make me watch the crying movies and the other things that you.
Okay, we need to define crying movies. They are not crying movies. They are period drama movies.
No, your period drama movies are included in your crying movies. You watch crying movies. The period dramas is just one genre of your crying movies.
No.
Every movie you watch has women either crying in it, or about to be crying, or got just done finished crying. That's what happened. Or they're setting up the scene for them to be doing one of those things, or they're setting up the scene for them to be going through the process of crying, or where they're gonna start to cry and then they're gonna cry, and that's it. They take the whole movie set around the crying scene. That's the whole movie.
Well, they're very dramatic moments.
I know, but it's just their dramas, and I get it. And and you know what? I kind of miss crying nightly for a while. So
yeah, she was off for a while. I wasn't watching the period dramas so much. Mm-hmm. I was more into stand-up comedy.
Yeah, well, stand-up comedy and, well, what is it? A League of Her Own, enough that I wanted to do bad things to ones and zeros. And it's not like the movie used to be perfectly fine. I used to have no problems with the movie. Like the first 100, 200 times I saw it.
Well, it became a standard because I know you like baseball.
But that's not the same thing. I don't watch the same baseball game 400 times. You know, I may go back and watch a World Series game or something while I'm doing something else, but I just pick one at random. I don't go watch the same one over and over again.
Okay, the prevailing mood here is, or not mood, but the prevailing thing that's happening here is I am a creature of habit.
Yes. Yes,
I
you are.
I love my routines. My routines are my saving grace. They're my milestones through the day.
And you pick the same art, the same comedians and the same bits, and so I hear the same jokes over and over and over again. And what is it you have with yelling comedians?
Yelling?
You have comedians who like to yell.
Bill Burr likes to yell.
All your comedians like to yell,
but not Tom Segura.
So anyway, you like yelling comedians. I don't like yelling comedians. It's just like I don't like comedians who overly swear. I don't mind swearing comedians. I don't mind comedians that swear, but I don't like comedians whose swearing is their thing. It's lazy. Include it, fine, because it's a good punctuation, and it's real. But if it's your thing, even Eddie Murphy only did it for a short period of time as a cultural point. He didn't actually stick with it forever. Even Eddie Murphy got away from the swearing as his act, because if you go watch Raw, it's essentially every third word is a non-swear word. It's just he really swears that much, but that was kind of the point. He was making a cultural point. And so when that point was over, he kind of moved on. But anyway, I'm not a fan of comedians. Modern comedy is so boring, because all they do is tell the same stories. They all have
they don't tell jokes. But I've been searching for ones that just tell jokes. It's tough.
You have to go back to old Richard Pryor.
It's a tough one.
You have to go back to old Richard Pryor or Eddie Murphy or people like that. I did it again. Well, they tell and the problem is they tell the same story. They're very human stories, and they're told from a different perspective. So okay, fine. But how many times can I hear the same story? Told funny a different way. I'd rather hear someone just rattling off joke after joke after joke like Robin Williams used to do. He just batter you with jokes. It was literally just joke after joke after joke. And there was a story woven in there somewhere, but it's just okay, maybe cocaine helped him, but I'm just saying it was joke after joke after joke. It almost seems like today's comedians are more barbs, storytellers, than they are comedians.
Bards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Storytellers than they are comedians, which is fine, but it's a different craft. But maybe I'm just getting old and stodgy. I don't like a lot of the modern things, and it's really irritating because it makes me feel like I'm being old. But sports has been gimmicks. It has been gimmickized. They're all a bunch of gimmicks now, and so I don't have any interest. I'm not interested in gimmicks. So,
are we going to answer some questions?
Yeah, let's hop to the questions. So, which ones do we want? Now, there's some good ones in those list of questions today. So, which ones do you want to go with first?
Well, let's start with the top one. Let's just jump right in.
Uh-huh. All right.
I'm 19 and my mom won't let me move out or get a job. She says that if I do, she'll hurt me and herself. She also tries to trap me in her house. What should I do?
Call a mental health professional.
This is beyond us.
Yeah, that's when you call. I don't want to say 911. There's probably a mental health helpline in your city. Look it up. You call it, and if you don't have one, send us an email and we'll find one for you. But there's always, most cities, towns have a mental health issue because that's a mental health issue. You're 19. She can't tell you not to get a job. She can't. So what she's doing is emotional blackmail.
Well, obviously they know that this is not
Yeah. Well, it's emotional
okay.
blackmail.
It's not okay. Yes, it's emotional blackmail.
And that's at best. That's at best.
At best, yes.
And at worst,
this is heartbreaking.
At worst, it's your mother's having severe emotional issues, a fear of abandonment. Who knows where it comes from? It's not going to get any better. And you know, these are those times where you, as now an adult, have to make the difficult choice, whether you intervene or not. But because she's threatening to harm herself or you, or you, that's your clue. That's the big flashing sign to say, okay, I need to intervene. Now, maybe there's a family member you can call to help, an aunt, an uncle, a brother, sister, you know, grandparent who's more experienced to deal with this. Or maybe you just pick up the phone, you call your local mental health helpline, and you say, look, this is what I'm going through, and how can you help? What do I do? Just literally, just tell them your story and ask them what can you do.
What can I do?
And they'll grab your hand and they will lead you down the path.
This is not the first time they've heard of this. They are skilled. They know how to work through these problems.
And it doesn't matter what sex, and if you don't have a thing, and if you don't have a local thing, call Weave. It doesn't matter what your sex is. I know it says women escaping violent environment. They've actually become very good about getting men to the help they need. They don't do it themselves, but they can tell you where to go. They can tell you what to do if you happen to be a man.
In a violent situation, yes.
So any of these places that deal with mental health on a regular basis will be able to get you to the first step, get you to the person who can hold your hand through the process that needs to get to be done. Because those are big, huge signs. You know, that I'll hurt myself for you if you don't. That's a big, huge sign.
If I don't know if they want to go this far, but when you get into where she traps you in the house, she's going to harm you or is threatening to harm you or yourself. You can call the police, and they will intervene. And she might be put. They might be in a mental health ward for a while, but that's a call that you gotta make. That's a last resort.
I do something now so you don't have to get to that
point.
That would be our suggestion. Okay, so let's get on something that's maybe a little more. Let's go to the next one. A little friendlier here for a minute. The second one?
What do you wish you knew at age 20?
Oh, at age 20, what do I wish I knew? That life was a long time. That it was a long time. That you have time. That you don't have to hurry. It's not a race. If there's one thing, now I guess it's two. It's one, it's called an anxiety disorder. You're going to have to learn to live with it. And then the second one would be a more generic answer for kind of everybody. Would be, it's not a race. You have time. There's no hurry. What are you hurrying to go? You're hurrying to the grave? Take your time. Nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're a success at 25 or 50 or 60. The people that care, the people that matter, the people that love you, as long as you're trying to be a better human being, as long as you bring value to people's lives. And value doesn't mean money. Value means something internal. Joy, whatever it is. But as long as you bring something positive to people's lives, you have all the time in the world. What about you?
That everything is going to be okay. That these worries are temporary. Mm-hmm. Things work out one way or the other. So a lot of worry, a lot of mental effort was for naught.
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, the question for you is your bipolar developed, or was it? Because how much of that worrying was just going to happen, whether you told yourself it doesn't matter or not. I could tell myself, I could have told myself at 20 years old that it's just anxiety. It's anxiety. Don't worry about it. It wasn't going to stop it because the anxiety was inherent within me. And so I guess that's the question for me. But you know me, I always go one step deeper because that's just where my freaking head goes. Okay, we've got 10 minutes left, so I want to skip down to those pregnant ones.
Okay.
They're both kind of the same question, so let's ask them both at once. You see them?
What would a conservative parent do if they found their 15-year-old daughter to be pregnant? Then what should I do if my teenage daughter is pregnant?
And see, a conservative parent is just a parent. What you do when it actually comes to your door is actually not the same thing as theoretical. What you would, because conservative liberal parents, they can both do this right or they can both do this wrong. This is an easy thing to screw up, and it's a hard thing to do right. And let's face it, if your daughter's pregnant at 15, you're having parenting problems. And it doesn't matter if you're liberal or conservative, if your 15-year-old daughter is looking for comfort outside the home, because that's what they're doing when they're out having sex at 15 years old. They're either insanely bored or they're looking for something that they're not getting at home. They're looking for love, comfort, compassion, understanding. But don't take that too hard, especially if you're a conservative parent. Let's look at your Old Testament, for a second. After God initiated the flood, he apologized to Noah, said he was wrong, said he'd never do it again. God makes mistakes. We can all make mistakes, including you, including your daughter. The question is, what do you do after that? Do you learn from it? Do you move on? And there's no right answer, whether it's abortion, adoption, keep the baby and raise it. The question is, what's right for your mother, for your daughter, for your child? We can all have our morals. We all have our morals that we stand on. We all kind of land somewhere on those abortion issues, right? It's not a clear-cut thing. And I'm not going to sit here and moralize to anybody over it. And I have my reasons for that. We all have our reasons for that. But right now, what's important is the health of a child, a teenager. The mental, emotional, and physical health of a teenager. That's the most important question. That's the question that you must face immediately. How do you deal with that long term? No matter what you do, no matter what your answer is, no matter what those three choices you have, those three paths you have to take, the emotional and physical health of that child will still have to be dealt with. An abortion just isn't going to wipe it away. That comes with its own emotional baggage.
Yes, it does.
It may or may not be the right choice, but it comes with its own emotional baggage that must be dealt with, or you're setting some trauma up for long term. If you give that baby up for adoption because it's the best thing for the mother and the baby, that's a lot of emotional baggage for the rest of your life. Because walking around somewhere, knock on that door could happen any day. Or never. Do you want it to? Do you not want it to? It's a question that doesn't end. And if a 15-year-old keeps the child, you got to raise it. You're no longer a child. You're a freaking adult. In a world where 15-year-olds are no longer adults. 130 years ago, a 15-year-old parent was normal. That's when you started having kids. Today, it's a different thing. Physically, you can do it. And sure, you can be a successful parent at 15. Long term. But it ain't going to be freaking easy. You think being a parent is hard. Talking about tying one arm behind your back and putting your legs in a sack and having to do it in a sack race. If you're the parent, what do you want to do? Do you want to make their life harder? Or do you want to make their life better? Not necessarily easier, because there's easy and that life don't go together. But you can make it better. You can help them make it better. Life ain't easy. Raise 5 kids, life ain't easy. But it can be better. So, I don't know. Take care of your child. If you have to have a discussion with God on Judgment Day, have that discussion. He's compassionate. You know why? You know how I know? Because he's made his own mistakes. He knows he knows about choices. Okay, is there one thing on there that we can end here on a happier note? Oh, here we go. Do hips widen after childbirth?
Mine sure did.
Well, sometimes, and maybe not. In my experience, it's sometimes yes, sometimes no. After, maybe after child 1, maybe not. After child 2 or 3, yeah, yes, they will. And of course, that also could be an aging thing. It's hard to say, but I don't know. I would assume so. You're sticking the bowling ball out of there. My guess is it's not going to...
Well, the tailbone comes down.
My guess is nothing's ever going to really go back into place.
No, it never really does.
Just on a guess. Okay, let's get with one more. Because this is something we're going to be experiencing maybe here shortly. My 3-year-old son stays up all night, and whenever we try to make him lay down, he screams, crying until we give in and let him get up. What should we do?
3-year-old?
Yeah.
Oh, good luck with that. Oh, my gosh. Well, there's a number of different techniques you can use. You can gently lead him back to bed every time. You can sit with my grandson. They sat in the hallway reading until he went to sleep. He could see them, but he wasn't allowed to get out of his bed.
Well, see, we had night owls. I'm a natural night owl, so it's what we did eventually was to say, all right, you can stay up, but when it's time to get up, you're still getting up. When you got to, and eventually they just conformed out of pure need for sleep to the schedule.
So that's kind of a natural approach.
Well, yeah, because it really depends on the child. If you have a natural night owl, you're fighting a losing battle, so don't fight. You're never going to win that fight, so don't fight. Work with it. But you have to know if it's a natural battle, or do you have one of these stubborn 3-year-old kids who's just so afraid of missing whatever action is going on, because that's what the 3-year-old brain is. They don't want to miss anything. Because remember, a 3-year-old brain is input. I want to learn. And so they're afraid of missing something. And so you just want to stay up and continue to learn, continue to do. They're completely engaged. You know, those 3-year-olds like that, they're fully engaged in life until they're not. And so it's you know, full accelerator, crash, full accelerator, crash. And sometimes you just have to, you know, either let them do it, but it's so child dependent. And that's, so it's so really hard to know. You have to kind of gonna have to figure out if you have a natural night out, which then don't fight it. You're just gonna have to work with it, and you're gonna have to help them learn to work with it. You're helping them by learning to work with it, by helping them adjust to that time. So, you know, like, you know, there were days, my daughter, she's a natural night owl, and, you know, there's days when she had to go to school on 2 hours sleep. And it's like, life stuff. You're up, we're off to school. I feel for you. I'm a night owl myself. I hated it myself, but get up, go. I'm not finished dressed. Well, the car's right there. You can finish dressing in the car. Let's go. And, you know, it's okay. You can stay up late and do what you want, but our deadlines are still our deadlines, and you're going to meet them whether you like it or not. And, you know, they eventually kind of conform because they have no choice. They have to in order to function in their own lives. They make the choice. Now, at 3 years old, you're actually teaching them that. It's just no way to explain to them. That's what you're doing. Yeah. Or they're the stubborn 3-year-old, and you're going to have to find some of these other techniques, like you know, the stubborn. I know your daughter's child. He's a learner. He wants to learn. He's always engaged, and you have to teach him how to break that engagement, you know, for the greater good. And that's what they did. So you're going to have to choose your tactics based upon the child.
They set him to sleep every night. They talk about where they're going to meet in their dreams. Disney World, the zoo. So he lays down and he thinks about Disneyland or the zoo. So they get him and they set his dreams.
Yeah.
So they have a technique that helps him fall asleep and disengage. Yes.
Yeah. So it really depends on it, but if you've got a natural night owl, I feel for you. I mean, I'm a natural night owl, so it was easier for me, but their mother wasn't, and it was difficult for her to understand. And so I feel for you. But, you know, hopefully, if it's, again, the child is overly engaged and just can't, you've got techniques to use. You can have to figure out which one. And that's it for our show tonight. We're going to be done. It's a year. Thank you for kind of joining us on our journey, and we will be back next week. You can find us and everything about it. You can find all of our contact information at latenightlove.us. You can send Lubby a email at all right, never mind. I've got
love it. latenightlove.us.
and all that very good stuff. You guys know the drill. I will see you next week.
Bye.
Oh, and for me and Lubby, please remember, love everybody.